Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is David Birdwell. I'm the Director of Global Education and Artistry for BUXOM Cosmetics. On behalf of BUXOM, I am pleased to welcome you guys to a masterclass event with BUXOM celebrity makeup artist, Miss Ash K. Holm.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We are so excited for this masterclass.
So while Ash is doing her last minute touch-ups before going into her magic, I'm going to be talking to you guys about what we're going over. So we have Ash's palette here. So this is our Ash's collab palette here. What I love about this eyeshadow palette is that they are primer infused eyeshadows. And if you've never used BUXOM's eyeshadows before, they're primer infused and they have a powder to soak technology to them. They can be used wet or dry, so they're ultra luxe, as well as they're super powerfully pigmented. But also we're going to be talking about our new Powerline plumping lip liner. So this lip liner is more than just a lip liner. It's plumping infused, but you can line and define your lips like a traditional lip liner, or you can fill in the entire lip and you wear it as lip color. It has a built-in brush to it and an always sharp chisel tip. So Ash is going to be going through all of these products with you guys today. We have a chat function, so please feel free to submit your questions throughout the presentation, but I'm really excited to turn it over to Ash K. Holm.
Thank you so much, David. So I have my beautiful model, Asley, and I'm going to start off with this look being really rich and bold. And I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to take you guys along this journey and walk you through this process every step of the way. And of course, using the BUXOM X Ash K. Holm palette, this collab is honestly a dream come true. So as you can see, I have baking powder underneath her eyes. Normally, I would not do this. I do not always bake. But for the sake of this masterclass, I wanted to make sure that her skin was already done so we could focus on eyes. And of course, when you do eyeshadow, there is sometimes a little bit of fallout, and we are doing looks today. Okay, well, I'm not holding back. We're doing looks. So just to save the face, I wanted to have baking powder for safety purposes. And I'm going to dust this off at the end and I'll take you through that process as well. So don't be alarmed. I realize her under eyes are very white, but we're going to dust it off. So I'm going to be starting off using the shade Royalty from the palette. It's a really rich, bold pop of violet. And I'm probably going to mix a little bit of Major. So both of these tones, Major is a foiled eyeshadow. So what's really cool about this palette is that whenever I was creating this, I knew that I wanted to create some textures that I have never seen BUXOM do before. And I had full creative control. It was honestly such a dream come true to be able to just kind of build this baby from the ground up. And it really is my baby. I'm so proud of it. I can't even tell you how happy I am to have this in my hands, to be, sharing this with you guys. And basically this is going to be a really blown out purple color story. And I'm going to show you the best ways to use these formulas. So in the palette, you'll find 6 neutral tones and 6 jewel tones. I wanted to make sure when creating this that I had, those neutral tones that I'm known for. I feel like, when I think of my work, I think of all the ethereal, natural, bronzy, glowy makeup looks. So I was like, I know I have to have these in here, and these tones work well on all skin types. So definitely feel free to swatch it, play with it. There is a fly that will not come for us today. But I'm using a really small tapered blending brush, and I'm basically just kind of bringing this all throughout the crease. And I'm going to use it to kind of contour and blow out the inner corner as well. I'm going to use the shade Major and kind of mix that in. A little bit goes such a long way with this formula. I mean, it's really impressive. A little goes such a long way. I'm trying not to use too much because you don't need a lot of eyeshadow to get the consistency and the color payoff. But basically what I'm doing is using more pressure deep in the crease. And as I work my way up on the brow bone, I'm softening up my touch. So that way it looks nice and feathered and blown out. And it's always smart to have another blending brush that is clean so you can go in and buff out the edges. I feel like that's always a little trick that I do, is you can never have too many blending brushes in your arsenal. So the more, the better.
Ash, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the shades that you picked here and the different textures?
Yes, absolutely. So while I'm blending Royalty in the crease and just basically building this up, I'll talk to you guys about that. So, when I created this eyeshadow palette, I was like, okay, I need to keep this like really signature, really true to my aesthetic and my brand. And what has always really inspired me as a makeup artist is those designers that utilize so many different kinds of like pops of color on the eyeshadow that you would see on the runway. And there's so many designers that really stand out to me. And I knew that I wanted to utilize jewel tones. I feel like jewel tones are really wearable. It's like, yes, it's a pop of color, but it's a good introduction into color. It's like, hey, you know what? I might not want to go for like a bold magenta eye, but I could do a coral and I can mix that with a brown. So I knew that I needed to have like those jewel tones. And I think these are tones that you can wear year round, especially during, the holidays. I think this eyeshadow palette's going to be so nice, but it's also beautiful for summer too. And I knew that I needed to have 6 neutral tones. So this eyeshadow palette will take you from day, it'll take you to night, and just make you feel glamorous and beautiful. Options really are endless when it comes to creating looks. So I am so excited to see all the looks that you guys create using this eyeshadow palette. And please tag us because we want to repost your work. We want to support you guys and we want to see it. So I'm very excited for that.
For sure. And definitely use hashtag BUXOMBabe, tag Ash, tag BUXOM Cosmetics. So we'd love to see your looks for sure. But Ash, what I really love about this palette too, is that I feel like you picked some of like the best of the best shades, like these neutrals. There's some matte shades in here too. I feel like with this palette that you created, you can do a full face with this, with
Full
just
face.
this one palette.
1989, this coral shade, you can use that as a blush. I mean, just by barely tapping that on a brush, it makes the most beautiful blush. It's so rich. And keep in mind, these are primer infused. So I actually didn't use an eye primer on the eyes. I just had foundation on her eyes. I kind of buffed it out and I went directly in with the eyeshadow because you really get that all day wear. I know that this formula is not going to go anywhere, which is so great. And the shade Living is actually a face highlighter. So not only can you highlight the eyes with it, I actually snatched the bridge of her nose with it. You can use it to highlight the skin. I was like, I need a face highlighter in here, something that's universal. I can use it, a million different ways. And then yeah, I mean, it's really cool because you can actually go in and contour with Unfiltered and Teddy. So have fun with it and just be bold and, get creative with it. It's a lot of fun. And I'm so excited to be sharing it with you guys.
Yeah, and I love that it's all in like one palette. Like as a makeup artist, like it's like all you need to do is just take this one palette. And I feel like these are all like the signature shades that you use on your clients as well. So yes. I love that, like you said, you can contour the face, you can highlight, you can create bold pops of color while also taking it from day to night. It's kind of like such a versatile palette. And I love all the different textures that you selected for this palette.
Thank you. I feel like I really kept my clients in mind when I was creating this because when I work with Kim Kardashian, I'm always using these like really mustardy, like warm, also kind of brown tones. It's like an interesting take on a brown. I felt like when I use a brown eyeshadow, I don't want it to be like too cool. Like I want it to be more on like the warm, more mustardy side, like just more like an interesting take on a brown. So I always think about like, what do I do on Kim? What do I do on Shay Mitchell? We go smoky a lot of the time, like smoky browns. What have I created on Kris Jenner and, Ariana Grande? So I kept like all that in mind. And I just wanted it to be something that I could use on my clients and also be able to get creative with and have fun with the color. So it really is like my dream palette.
Yeah, I can see that. And I love that like some of the shade names too are like Teddy, like it's your doggy's name. So it seems so personal to you, right?
I matched his fur. I honestly matched his fur to the color, which is so funny. But he deserves that. If you guys have seen my dog on Instagram, he's just like, he's the exact same shade as this little toy poodle, super cute. So yeah, he definitely deserves this, but he wants royalties. He's like, I want to get paid for that.
as he deserves it, right?
As he should, right? As he should. So I'm basically just building up the color. I have mainly used the shade Royalty in the crease, which is a matte. And right now I'm softly diffusing and going over it with the shade Major, which has such beautiful reflex to it. So when I look at the shade Major, I see like reflex of like blue, violet. So depending on the way the light hits it, you're going to see these really cool hues. And I'm going to start doing the exact same thing on the other eye. I'm going to make sure there's no creasing happening from my foundation first. So I'm just going to take a fresh brush, blend that out. And then same thing over here. I'm just going to start on the inner corner of the eye and really start buffing that in and blowing this out in the inner corner. So we get this nice contour, this blown out look. If you have a smaller eye shape and you feel that your eyes are more close together, I would skip out on this part. I would probably put all my focus on the outer corner of the eye. But she has such a great, space in between like her nose, the brows, and the lid. So I'm able to really go in and blow this out. I feel like you always have to customize the look for the client.
For sure. For sure. And we have actually a question that's very relevant to what you're doing right now. So Angela Hoffer has asked, how far past the end of the brow are you bringing that crease color out? Like, what was your suggestion? Do you have any tips and tricks as you're kind of like creating that more elongated shape?
Yes. So I try to keep it kind of like blown out up here, like bring this like pretty into the brow. Like you can get in there a little bit. And then I like to leave a little gap here and like wing it out. So you can kind of create this like swoopy shape, if you will. And it just depends. I feel like you have to customize it too, to your eye shape. Like I said, if she had like a smaller face shape, smaller eye shape, I probably would just keep it more on a swoopy open angle and like leave this really bright on the inside and not really, mess with it too much. But it's kind of fun to play. And if you have the space to just blow it out, because it gives you this really cool contoured look that kind of, it almost like blends into the nose contour here, which is really nice. So.
Yeah. It seems like you've taken the color and kind of like followed her eyebrow shape. It's kind of like, it really kind of helps frame and draw that focus in there. So I love that you've done that there with creating the crease shade. Do you feel like that's kind of like a best practice? Like if for someone who's maybe not like an expert, like would you follow your brow shape?
I think that's a great idea. Like just going with like your natural features that you see that you have. So I also think it's a good idea to like start in the crease of the eye, follow that brow bone, like follow the shape of the crease. It doesn't necessarily have to be so much the brow, but it can actually be like the crease, but then cheat it, bring it up higher here and swoop this in an outward direction. So you're getting that eye lift. So right now I'm basically just like swooping this over. And then we're creating like this lifted look right here. And then for the lid, I'm excited to show you how we do the lid because I want to apply that damp with like a setting spray. All the foiled shades go on so rich and so pigmented when you apply them damp. It just changes the eyeshadow completely. And I know we have a lot of makeup lovers with us and you guys are pros. So I don't need to explain. I know you guys have all done that before, but we'll run through it. And then, of course, switch over to your clean brush every now and then to just like feather out the edges.
No, I'm so impressed by the shades that you picked. Like even I applied like that foil shade, that major onto my hand, and already you guys can see like that reflex there. So I'm super excited to see what you do and using it damp.
Yes. And whenever you're blending out the crease, I think it's really important to have a light hand. You can apply more pressure deep in the crease, but be really mindful of your touch. I think your placement and your touch is so important. A lot of my clients are always like, I can barely feel you like when you do my makeup. And it's just practice. It's honestly like the more you do it, the better you get. And the lighter the hand you have, the softer it's going to look, the more diffused and more blended. And that goes for all features of the face. You get so much more control. Absolutely. So even when I'm doing like contour, and highlighting and really focusing on the rest of the face, I kind of remember that. I think anything that I teach you today on the eyes, you can use that for the rest of the face as well.
So beautiful.
Thank you. And right now I'm going back and forth, dipping royalty and major. There's a lot of fallout going on the eyeshadow palette right now, but I'm just kind of letting it be so we can work. David will show you really beautiful swatches.
We're all looking like an art project over here. I mean, I think like
always
right. That's like what we do as
honestly
makeup artists.
Of all the ways, honey.
I love that you made them so pigmented though. And I think like your tip about using pressure and allowing yourself control because they are primer infused and so pigmented, it really allows you to build up that intensity that you want and you desire because you've already done like, as you were selecting these shades, you've already picked really, really pigmented shades. So I love that tip.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I feel like we're in a good place. It's kind of time for me to do the lid. So I'm going to take more of a flat brush. It's kind of flat, a little bit soft. So it has like a little, some density to it. So that way we can like pick up more of the product. I kind of want to pack it onto the eyelid. So it's always good to switch from a blending brush to something a little bit more dense. So I am going
This part I'm so excited for. I can't wait to see you like go on wet because it is like a foil shade, like you were saying.
Yes. And you can literally just spritz. I'm going to kind of spray it in a downward direction because I don't have a ton in my bottle. And then I always test the consistency on my hand first. Now we're going to go in to major. I'm going to tap that off
so
and
everyone
then
can see.
I'm just going to start patting that in. And I like to play with this formula that I'm creating. So we're basically like changing up the consistency. So I get it wet. I test it out on the back of my hand first. I don't want it soaking wet. Like it doesn't need to be drenched, but it needs to be like a good in between, like a nice damp texture. And I almost feel like I have to spray it every time to get that same consistency because it dries up once it touches the pigment. And I'm just pressing this in, bringing this up to the fold. And you just get this rich, vibrant violet when you apply it like that. Now, if you apply it dry, you just get a softer look. That's beautiful too. Maybe you don't want it that pigmented. So play with, the formula and see what you like best. Thank you.
That's so pretty.
And I'm just pressing, starting on the lash line. It's kind of like a press and pull, like I'm sweeping at the same time. And if it's too wet, then it might look really rich in one area. So you kind of have to look at both eyelids and see if they look the same. Sometimes I have to go in and like wet one side more. Open your eyes for me. And I see it's a little bit more vibrant here. So I know that I need to go back. I need to spray this one again. I always step back and look at my work from different angles so I can really see what's going on. Where do we need to build? Beautiful. And I'm just packing it on. So that way, this dense brush is really doing all the work for me. It would take so much longer with like a blending brush open for me. Beautiful. And so for the bottom lower lash line, I'm going to take more of a little shader brush. This is a really small brush. It's a little fluffy, a little dense at the same time. And I'm going to mix major and royalty. I'm just going to play with that. Look up for me, chin down, and then eyes up. I always ask my clients to do that. I'm always like chin down, eyes up. It's just easier because sometimes people will like throw their head all the way back. And then that way it's just easier for me to apply. Blink, does it feel okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm always really careful when I do this because your eyes are really sensitive. So we don't want to get powder, in the eye. Right now I'm actually switching over and using the shade Royalty. So I went back to the matte shade. Sometimes you just got to play with it. Like I'll mix, and see like what consistency that I like as I'm applying it. And now I'm going to mix major as well. I'm going back in with royalty. So I'm kind of playing with both tones that we used on the eyelid.
And you're using a dry, correct?
Yes.
For under eye, you're using a dry.
Yes, dry. And the reason why I use it dry underneath the eyes, because I just want like a smokier look, like turn more this way, a smudgier, smokier look. And if I were to apply it wet, it would just be a little too sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just using the matte shade Royalty first, kind of doing all the work with that. And because there's baking powder right underneath the lashes, you kind of have to apply a little bit more sometimes, like if you do bake. So I'm just building that up. Look up in that way. The other way, yes. Other direction, perfect. And I'm bringing it all the way in. I want to create like this halo, this really swoopy shape around the eye. Perfect. And then I kind of want to leave like a rim like around the lash line. So we'll go in with Smokin'. So Smokin' is a really rich, intense black. When I was creating this eyeshadow, I was like, I need this to be able to perform wet. So you can look up for me. So you can wear it as a liner, or you can wear it as a smoky liner, or you can have the richest, blackest eyeshadow on the eyes. So that was kind of like the inspo behind that. And she performs really well.
Oh yeah, she's rich. She's like a really rich, deep, like jet black. I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah, she's amazing. We love it. So you just want to be careful with this. I'm going to tap it off a lot because I don't want to really deal with the fallout. Look down for me. Perfect. So I'm just going to start on the outer corner of the eyes and start building this up. And I'm tapping a lot as I go. I know there's baking powder to save me, but you still want to tap. And just keeping this really tight. This is actually the same brush that I use on the bottom. I just got a clean one. So that way we could really see how rich and intense you're able to get this shade. And I like to start from the outer corner so I have more focus here. And it kind of creates this optical illusion from going thick to thin. So it'll open up the eye shape. And I think makeup is honestly all about that. It's all about creating shapes, optical illusions. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Always. And I think you did such a great job with layering the different textures, like using the matte and the crease, like as you were kind of building it up, like I call it like the bones of the eye. Like you really just create that like sculptural moment and then play off the light on the lid. So I think this looks like a work of art.
Thank you so much, David. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just starting from the outer corner, and I apologize if I'm blocking a little bit on this side. So just putting all my focus on the outer corner, really soft touch, being mindful of tapping off this product and just kind of slowly working my way inward. And I'm going to start winging this out a little bit too. I kind of want like an imperfectly perfect wing. Like I don't need it to be super sharp. We're going for like a smokier, unfinished look for the eyeliner today. But she doesn't play games. I mean, if you want this to be sharp and you want to apply it with like a flat wing, a flat angled brush or a pointed brush, it will perform just like a liquid liner. It's amazing.
So
I'm
beautiful.
Taking a lip brush right now. This has nothing on it. And I'm just going to kind of take off some of that excess. There we go. Sometimes you can tweak the eyes without using makeup remover. Just using another brush. Look down for me. Perfect. And then taking more product and slowly working my way in. Close for me. And I'm having her close so I can really press and get this close to the base. Open. Oof. She's beautiful.
That's like stunning. So good.
Thank you. I feel like I'm in a good place. I want to dust off the baking. So when doing so, I am going to just take another brush. Perfect. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit more product. And I'm just going to start sweeping this off. And I'm just kind of like dusting it in an upward direction and then outward. And I'm holding this here so it catches, and then I'll just dump this out after. Normally I don't like to have anything in the cap. There's a little bit, but I'll just catch it sometimes because, you know, she has this really cute outfit on. I'm like, we want to save the outfit too. And then that's how it's done. And then usually I would go in and like use a setting spray. And then we'll get into the mascara. So I have BUXOM's Lash Mascara with me today. It's one of my favorites. I feel like I'm either using that or the Extrovert Mascara. The Lash Mascara gives you more of a like lifted, volumized, lengthened kind of look. And I like to use the mascara like directly on the eyes. In my makeup kit, one thing that I always do, I don't know if other makeup artists do this. This is just something that I've always done. I really enjoy doing it. Is I always have a designated mascara for like Kim Kardashian, and I'll label it Kim, and I'll have one for Shay, and I'll have one for Kris Jenner or Ariana, whoever. And then that way I can use it directly on their eyes and it's labeled. So I know it's for them and just for sanitary purposes. You can use spoolies too, but I'm just a fan of the actual product itself. And I feel like when a brand makes, you know, the mascara, they also make the brush in mind with the formula. So I'll have you look down for me. And I always hold my thumb here when I'm doing a client. Obviously you wouldn't need to do this on yourself if, you know, you're doing your own makeup, but look down for me all the way. So I just hold my thumb here. So that way, if she blinks, I can catch it. And I'm just going to coat the lashes top and bottom and look down in that way. When I have her look the opposite direction, it just allows me to get closer to the eyes, like closer to that inner corner to apply the mascara. This is such a good trick though, when you're working on a client, because they always blink. It's inevitable. It's always going to happen. So that way you always save your work no matter what. So I'm going to go in for another coat. I want this kind of soft. I don't want like too thick of a lash. I want more like volume, but separated and lengthened. So this mascara is perfect for what I want.
Yeah, I think it really does complement the shapes that you've created here. You've created that really like defined kind of smoky look, and the lashes is kind of like giving it that kind of wide-eyed effect. I think really enhances what you've done with, you know, where you've placed the liner and how you've kind of created that shape and dimension on with the crease and the lid. So I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite mascaras. I use this on so many of my clients, and I just love it because it just gives you like that soft look, but you can really build and get the volume from it too. Huge fan of the Extrovert mascara also. That one's really great when you want like a really glamorous, like bold lash look that will replace individual lashes or replace like a strip lash. That one's incredible. So either one does it for me. And then I'm going to do the bottom too. So I'll have you put your chin down for me and then your eyes up. And we'll just do a little bit on the bottom. Now, I could finish off this look with like even eyeliner on the waterline. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll just keep it open and it opens up the eyes. It looks natural. Some of the eyeshadow usually kind of gets on the waterline accidentally. And sometimes I like the way that that looks over putting like a pencil eyeliner. Look up again and I'll have you put chin down and then eyes up. And then, you know, if she does get a little mascara on the top right here, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to let it dry while we do the lips, and then you can dust that off. It comes right off after it dries. You never want to remove liner that gets on the top when it's wet. Always when it's dry, it'll come right off. It like flakes off. So for lips, I'm so excited about this lip liner. So this is the new Powerline lip liner. It is plumping. The shade that I'm going to use is High Def Honey. It's such a beautiful nude. It's really gorgeous. And I'm just going to use a little powder puff here. So I'm going to have you close for me first. Perfect. I'm just going to start off by like assessing her lip shape. And I'm just going to follow her lip line. This is a perfect nude for her skin tone. We could even use one of the darker shades too, but I want to see where this takes me. And then sometimes I'll look at it and see, do I need to add more definition and go in with a darker shade? Now, this has a really interesting tip to it. It's kind of like a teardrop shape. So it's really easy to apply. It kind of just glides on the lips. The formula is so long wearing. So it's like the perfect base for your lipstick. I mean, when I use these, I literally don't need to touch up. It's crazy. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I didn't post it, but I wanted to tell you guys in the class, the red one from this line. David, what's the name of it? Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, right here. So it's called Real Red.
Okay, I used that on Megan Fox yesterday when I posted the look that I did. So if you go to my Instagram, everyone's asking, they're like, what is this lip? What is this lip? I wanted to tell you guys in the class. So that red lipstick is so iconic. It's that red lip liner. It's so beautiful. It's like the most perfect red lip liner. So everyone's asking, I'm like, let me just tell you here. So you guys got to try it. That red is stunning. Yeah, and I didn't over. Yes, please. And I used one of the BUXOM like red lipsticks on top, but I just used a drop. I actually didn't need much of the full force lipstick because it's so pigmented. And she did Jimmy Kimmel and she was wearing that and I didn't go with her. And I knew that like if she was wearing that lip, like it would be fine because it's not moving. So I'm going to top this off with the shade Fly Girl. But before we do, I'm going to dust this off. You can actually take like a mascara wand, look down for me, and you can kind of like flick it a little bit, a clean mascara wand, and it just brushes off. So that's a great little tip if you've ever struggled with that. And then I'm going to go in with my Full Force Plumping Nude. This is the shade Fly Girl. I love this color so much. It has a special place in my heart because I helped BUXOM create the nudes. They are 90s nudes. You guys got to check them out. I'm not just saying that because I helped with the shades. They are amazing. These are shades that I use in my kit. I use on my celebrity clientele. They're to die for. This is a nude. I'm wearing the same color too. So you can see it on different complexions. I would even put it on someone that has really light skin. If you're super fair, the shade Heartthrob is incredible. I'm known for like my nude lipstick, so I was really excited to create these with BUXOM a while back.
I love that shade too. The Fly Girl color is like the best nude. I think it works with so many different people, and you can like really manipulate it with like the lip liner, like you were saying.
I'm just gonna put a little bit. So that is the look.
So pretty. Gorgeous.
And if you guys recreate the looks from today, please tag us. I would love to see it. These are some of my favorite looks for the campaign. Like, I was really excited to create these on my two girls today for you guys. So that's the look. Thank you so much, Ashley. And we'll bring you back in a minute. Okay, here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ash. That look was so stunning. I love that you created a really gorgeous purple smoky eye. Those are so on trend right now too, and complement it with a beautiful kind of like that tawny taupey nude lipstick. So, and I love that you are using so many different shades that like you've had such a like personal hand in developing that I feel like it just adds that little extra special touch. So I'm so excited for look number 2.
Yes, look number 2 is one of my favorites. I feel like I've been creating this look a lot. I don't know if I've posted it all yet. I have so much content using this palette, but I was like, you know what? I really want to create this look. This is one of my favorite looks to do using the palette. So I'm going to have you look down for me, Megan, and I'm just going to buff out any foundation that's on her eyelid. I actually did set her eyelids, but we've been kind of chilling, hanging around. So we're going to give it a little extra love. So just blending that out with a clean blending brush. And I am going to go directly onto her eyes with the coral shade. But you know what, before we do, we need to bake because you guys saw how that really saved the day. There was I don't know if you could see, but there was like a little fallout, but it was like on the baking powder. So it serves as like a blanket on the skin.
Yeah, we couldn't see anything, but I think that's such a great tip that like if you've done complexion before, like and using really pigmented eyeshadows and different textures, like to do that baking technique.
And it also gives you like this beautiful look on the under eye that is just set and it's not going to move. I don't think it's for everyone. So again, like I wouldn't do this on everyone. A lot of the times I do eyes first. And then I keep the under eye. Maybe it's someone that, you know, doesn't like a lot of makeup and we want more of like, just like a natural under eye where we can see texture and we can see skin. So then I would stay away from this right here, but just doing it so we can save the look. And I also think it's cool to show you guys this technique because it does come in handy and it's good to have this little trick up your sleeve.
Totally. And this is BUXOM too. Like our everyone who knows BUXOM, it's like go big or go home. So we're here for it.
We support it. We support each other on this one.
We're here for it.
And then I always flip it over. There's nothing on this side. And I kind of just soften up the baking. It's almost like we're blending it in and diffusing it in. So all the focus is right under the eyes and it's not so much laying on top of like the blush area.
Gotcha.
There we go. So just a little moment like that. And then now we're prepped. We're ready. So I'm just going to dust off my hand really quick and then go into it. So again,
I'm so excited for this.
Start off
with the nudes.
With David, will you show the shade 1989?
Yeah, of course. So let me show you guys real quick. My hand, it's right here. It's that gorgeous coral shade. I'll swatch it on my hand as well. So I love it. It's a matte too.
So beautiful. So this is one of my favorite shades. I was like, I have to have this in here. You can actually use it as a blush. If you just use it ever so lightly, it makes such a beautiful blush. If you are someone with a deeper complexion, it makes the most beautiful blush because it's so vibrant and radiant. It's gorgeous. I'm just going to use a little bit in the crease for now, and I'm going to come back to it because I want to apply more of like a bronzy tone on the lid. So I'm probably going to skip around a little bit. Right now, I'm just getting a light layer. It's almost like we're using this as a transition shade. Normally, you would use like a light brown, but you know, a transition shade could be whatever you want it to be, depending on like the eye story that you're creating. And I want blown out eye stories today. I want this to kind of like take up the space. We're not going to be afraid to like use the color. So I'm just going to diffuse this into the crease. And it's almost like we're using that same technique for this part right here. They have two totally different eye shapes, but I'm going to show you how you can make it work and adjust it on a different eye shape just by using it in a smaller space and being mindful of how far I'm bringing up the blending. I really want this coral to like peek through. And what's fun about this is that I'm going to be mixing it with a lot of bronzy tones. So this is going to be really sun-kissed, really bronzy, beautiful for summertime. Just make you feel like golden and gorgeous. This is a fun vacation look too. But it still has like a pop of color, which is nice.
I love that. It's like adding a little bit of warmth to that look.
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and just do the same thing on the other side. I'll have you turn a little bit right there. Thank you. And same thing over here, putting more pressure in the crease, but not too much. Like I want it to be really like soft and relaxing when I do people's makeup. And then as I get towards the inner part right here, I'm really softening up my touch. I mean, it's feather light. Megan can probably barely feel like the touch because we want it to blend into the contour right here. I did a really light nose contour on her. And so everything just needs to be like diffused. But what's so great is how pigmented it is. Like you don't need an eyeshadow primer. That always blows my mind with BUXOM's eyeshadows. That's a signature thing that BUXOM is known for. So I knew like it needed to be cohesive with that. Like I've always loved that about BUXOM. So I was really excited to like have that a part of this palette and have that formula, but also really happy to have, you know, different textures to play with and, you know, to try some new shades. So it was a lot of fun creating. And I'm also going to start blowing this out on the outer corner of the eye. So using a really light hand, keeping it pretty deep. Like I want this to be kind of on the eyelid too, because I'm going to blend it in with the bronze shade. And I'm just lifting this up. So I brought the baking all the way to here for a reason. So it kind of gave me a little guide to lift the eyes. And just using a really light touch. It's almost like you're building a house. It's like you just start with layers. Like you put the foundation down and then we go in with another layer. Makeup is really all about layering and how you layer, but the way you do that is so important. I feel like it takes a lot of patience, and with time and practice, like anybody will be able to create such like a seamless, you know, blend on the entire face. Definitely something that you don't want to rush through. Take your time on blending. It's really important. So again, always having a clean brush handy is so important. So I'm going to grab a clean one and just blur these edges. I feel like my tools are everything to me. You got to have good tools. If you have good tools, you can do anything. Really important. So I'm in a good place. We'll come back to this and like pump it up a little bit more. But I want to go in and use the shade Stacks right here. Stacks is one of my favorites. So I pulled a lot of inspiration from so many eyeshadows that inspire me. And it's basically like that perfect bronze tone that I've been dreaming of and been looking for forever. So I'm so happy that I was like able to create this. It was a dream to do. I'm also going to apply that wet. So I'm just going to spray the brush.
Yeah, I love this color. I feel like it's like one of those colors you could take either really warm or really cool. So it's like that
It's the
really
best.
balanced bronze shade that you were saying. I love it.
It's literally the best of both worlds. This color looks good on every skin tone. So we're doing that same technique where I'm applying it damp. I'm getting as close to the lash line as I can. And I'm kind of just like pressing and dragging. It's like a press and sweep technique, bringing this into the crease, not like up above the crease, but like into the pocket of the eye. So I'm pressing and dragging in a downward direction. It's feathering it out. So I start close to the lash line because that's where I want most of the pigment. But then to blend this while it's damp, you want to slowly bring it up. And I feel like that's the best way to get like an even blend, and just blend what you have instead of like getting more product. See what you can do with like what's already on your brush. You see open? Beautiful. And it just
So
blends with
pretty.
the corals so well. So I'll take a little bit
Mhm.
more, and I'm just going to use my brush as is, I'm not getting it damp again. Just kind of building up the color, seeing what I can do with it. And I'm going to wet it for the other eye.
I love how when you've layered these textures together, it's definitely like softened everything, but because you use the deeper color and the more matte shade beforehand, it kind of, you still have that structure and that density, but it still looks completely like airbrushed onto the eye.
Yes. Yeah, it gives you like that really nice, easy blend that just looks effortless. So just building it up, and I think I'm going to get it wet one more time. And then I'm going to start blending Teddy into the crease as well. Teddy is such a perfect transition shade.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a lighter complexion, a little goes a very long way with it. You can even mix it with unfiltered. Unfiltered kind of diffuses everything. So I feel like if you ever put like too much color, you can go over anything with unfiltered, and it kind of just like softens it up and neutralizes it a little bit. So that's another little trick I like to do. I love this already. So pretty. And I want to smoke out the eyeliner with this one too. I might mix the black and the brown. So maybe doing like rich with smoke in. So I'm going to take a more defined brush. I was using this one earlier too when doing those really beautiful violets. And I'm going to use Teddy. Love. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring this right in the pocket of the eye.
I think
And
like
then we'll
that
probably
Teddy
go
shade.
back.
Yeah, that Teddy shade is like the perfect contour shade, like you were saying. It's like it just adds, it's almost like it adds like a natural shadow to the eye.
Yes.
Versus like so much color in a sense. Like it's almost like a true contour.
Yes, I love that. You can definitely contour the face with it. It's so nice. And what's great is that it has that built-in primer formula too. So it's not going to fade throughout the day. BUXOM also does that with their blushes too, which is so amazing because it's just never going to like fade into the skin. And when I'm using Teddy, all my focus is on the outer corner. And I'm just letting this kind of glide across the crease. And it's okay if it gets on the lid. I kind of like that look. So there's not so much of like a line of demarcation. It's more of like this fade that just looks a little more sultry and smoky. And again, really softening up my touch right now as I move up the brow bone. So it kind of diffuses into the brow bone. So I want Teddy just on the outer corner, and we'll go back in with the coral after. I'll turn you this way. And whenever I'm using this brush right now, I'm not like holding it flat like this. If you can see, like I'm just using the edge of the brush. So it's, sometimes you need to like look at the shape of your brushes and see how you can utilize like maybe just the tip of it for more control. Instead of putting the whole brush flat, it might give you a little too much product. So just tapping off as I go and bringing this into the crease, letting that kind of fall and like get on the lid is fine with me, giving us more of like a sultry effect. and just building it up until both of the eyes look even to me.
So
And
pretty.
again, just really softening my touch as I move further up above the crease. And keeping in mind, like, of my placement right now, I want to lift everything up. I kind of elongate the eyes. It's almost like a straight up, if that makes sense. Like, I don't go fully up, but it's like this swoopy upward shape that I love to do. And I definitely see myself doing that a lot. I feel like it's a shape that I love to constantly create.
Just
And if
lifts
you
that
put all the
eye.
focus, like if you put all this, like the focus on the outer corner, these darker shades, it is going to lift the eye. You are absolutely right. It's going to create more of like a catty look. Like when I do Ariana, we put a lot of focus like on the outer corner because we want everything up and lifted and contoured in the corners. So we do that like on the cheeks, it's upward, on the eyes, it's upward. And I never have too much like product on the inner corner of her eyes. It's all about creating those illusions and those shapes. And then using a blending brush that's clean, just kind of going over this area. And then I'm just going to step back and look at it. I'll have you turn this way again. I'm going to add a little bit more here. And then I feel like it's time. We need to go back with 1989. Really showing my age.
But I love that those are those like personal touches that you put within that palette too.
Thank you. I was like, it honestly had so many names for the palette. I was like, I don't have enough eyeshadows. Then naming products is so fun. That's like got to be one of the funnest things.
That's gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm always looking at my clients in different positions. I'll be like underneath them, making sure it's even. Do what you got to do, you know?
Absolutely.
So going back with that coral brush, the same one that we used to start with, 1989. And I'll have you look down for me. Perfect. So having her look down, it kind of like flattens the eyelid a little bit. You might like, you know, your client to have their eyes closed so you can really like get into the pocket of the eye, but I'll have them kind of like look down sometimes. So that way I can like feel around and see where I want to take this. It just changes the shape of the eyelid. And I'm just building this up. I want this really rich and I'm bringing this down into the inner corner. And we need to smoke out the under eye too. So I want to keep it really light actually. I'm going to use Stacks, the bronzy shade that we used on the lid. I'm going to use it underneath the lashes just a little bit. And I like how it's like dipping down right here. Like the coral is like really, you know, going into like this downward contoured direction. I don't know. It just, I like the drama. You don't have to take it that far, but I feel like we're already here. Let's keep going. And then taking a clean brush and just diffusing it. So that softened it up. It's like it left a wash, like we can still see it. So same thing on, maybe I want a little bit more right here. So just going over Teddy and just kind of lightly dusting that. Now this way. So having her look down using a really light touch, I'm kind of making these like little circular motions. And that's blowing out the eyeshadow in the exact shape that I want. Keeping it circular. And whenever you stipple it, you're going to be able to build more coverage. And I do that exact same thing when I'm like doing skin. If there's an area or when I'm doing powder contour where I want more, I'll stipple the brush like this, little patting motions. And then sweeping it is just kind of like fading it out. So those are two techniques that I feel like you'll use everywhere. It's a good little basic tip. Yes.
So Jessica asked, Ash, would you recommend recreating the same look with other shades in the palette, or is it best to use the ones that you're using now?
You could definitely do it with like the violets, I feel like, in the palette. But if you do it with the blue, I would probably keep it really close to the eyelid right here and then maybe like diffuse it a lot because it just is such a darker, like the shades are kind of dark, like jewel tones, they're rich, dark shades. So you would just want to be really mindful of like your blending, but you can absolutely, like you can definitely play with that and do the same technique for sure. And like switch the tones. I think it would be really fun to see that.
I love that. So
There's
it's kind
no,
of just like, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's no rules. And that's why I love this industry so much. And what I do is because you can honestly just make it up as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of lightly dusting this over Teddy, using the lightest touch when I'm doing this, because I don't want it to look choppy, you know, like I don't want you to see like this line of demarcation. So almost just like feathering it over this area, kind of keeping that line like straight, but going back and forth. And I'm going to take more of a pencil brush and match this eye. I brought it a little further down here and I like the way that that looks because it gives you more of like a pop of color in the inner corner of the eye.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to bring that down. And then I'm going to take the same brush that I was using for stacks and whatever's left over on the brush that I used on the lid, I'm going to start pressing to break that up right there. Open. And then just look down for me. So having her look down allows me to get closer. That looks great. And then using another brush that is probably more tapered, like a pencil shaped brush, I'm going to wet it. I actually am going to wet it this time. And I'm going to, I don't know if you want to call it smoking out, but we're basically just going to add like a little bronze underneath. Look up all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't wet it the first time, like on my other model, I applied it dry. But because this eyeshadow it's light and it's foiled, I just want a little bit of it, but I want it to like stick right away. And it won't look, because this shade is lighter, it's not a color like the violet. It's easy to blend. So if you do apply this wet underneath the eye, it's going to stick really well. And you're not going to have like a choppy line that you need to blend out because it is foiled and it's light. Perfect. Turn this way for me. I'll have you look up. I'm going to get it wet again. And then I want to start smoking out the lash line because I feel like that's what's really going to bring this together. Starting in like the outer corner, I feel like that's like my signature. It's a safe bet. Like if you just start from the outer corner, that way you don't have so much product over the whole eye. Because sometimes when you line too much on the eyes, it actually makes the eyes smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're always trying to like make our eyes look bigger, enhance the shape of our eyes. But if you like wrap too much product around the eye, it can actually close you off. So I do everything from like, I start in the outer corner. And then, yeah, using another dense shading kind of brush. This is like more of a detailed brush. I'm going to take the shade Rich, the dark brown, tap that off. I'll have you look down. That's perfect. And yeah, I think I'm just going to focus on Rich. This is a very deep, matte, intense, fudgy brown. It's so dark. It's really beautiful. I'm just utilizing the edge of the brush just to kind of like lift it up and utilize it as more of like a liner brush. And keeping it close to the lash line, but going from thick to thin. So basically like using what I have and blending it inward. So that way it's more dense and opaque towards the outer corner. Pretty. And I'm going to mix Teddy with it too. Like if you ever feel like you need to soften up like the edge where the wing is, just use a lighter shade. And I'm actually going to take another brush with nothing on it and take off some of the product. You can do that with Q-tips, but always try to do that without makeup remover first. See what you can do with like your actual tools. Okay, then I'll do the other side and some mascara. And let us know if you guys have any questions. Would love to answer them.
There's been so much information. I like this is so great. I feel like I've got like
So
the
I
front
answered them
row
all?
seat to
Okay.
this so far. Yeah, so far. But everyone there, feel free
Amazing.
to submit questions. But this looks so beautiful. I love that you've done really strategic
you.
placement with the colors too, to really just take that eye shape and enhance it to its like optimal best. And I love that about your work too, and your
Thank you,
signature
David.
style. Yeah, of course. So pretty.
So I'll have you look at me really quick and then look down. I'm going to bring this inward. Close your eyes for me. So having her close, it just allows me to shade a little bit more closer to the lash line and blend a little bit better. So there's no gaps. And I feel like we're ready to dust off the baking. Do some mascara. I love the way that this looks. Amazing. So I'm going to take another brush and I'm going to get a little more baking powder. And I'm going to turn you this way. Perfect. And I'm just going to start sweeping and dusting this off.
We have a question now. Gurnaz asks, what has been one of your favorite looks that you've created of all time?
It's a tough one. That's so tough. Favorite looks of all time. Oh, you know what? There's some favorite looks of all time and they haven't come out yet. And I'm so excited for this to drop. I did something with someone and you guys will see it. I'm so excited. But for now, if I had to tell you something, probably like one of the looks I really love was when I did Kim Kardashian for Vanity Fair. We did a smoky eye that was it was a different smoky eye. It was like all matte tones. And I feel like that's something like we don't see her in a lot. And it was really fun to create on her. And it was such a moment. I feel like I kept seeing the look everywhere. So that was Vanity Fair about, maybe that was like a year ago. But I love that. I also love the look that I did on Ariana Grande for the Met Gala. That was just such a moment, I think, in my career that it's one for the books. It's a moment like I'll never forget. And I'm gonna spray a little bit. Close your eyes for me, Megan. Just did a little bit. I don't need too much spray right now. And then you can always go in and just kind of blot in where there's any droplets. So for lips, I'm going to use my favorite shade of all time. This is Hush Hush Henna. This is a color that I nonstop wear. I put this on myself. I put this on all my clients. I feel like it's a shade that like never fails me. It kind of reminds me of like your lip shade, but better. So it gives you like that supermodel lip tone that I'm always searching for. And I know that if I put this on someone and, I'm pressed for time, it's always going to be a good decision. So a lot of the times I will fill in the entire lip with this, and I'll probably do that right now. And it's matte, which is really great. So you can actually just fill in the whole entire lip and just be done with it and just wear the Powerline lip liner as is.
It has that built-in brush too, which makes it like easy to blend out the color too, which is what I love about it.
Yes, and you can also like diffuse the edges with it too.
So pretty.
And I'm just following her natural lip shape. I might overdraw a little bit in the center. So bringing like that Cupid's bow just a little bit higher, not much. And then I want to top it off with a lipstick that complements it. It's going to be a very similar tone. The shade is actually called Supermodel because I feel like it's like that perfect supermodel lip color. So they both really complement each other so well. And I'm just going to completely fill in the lips with this. And then we'll do a little mascara too. A lot of the times when I'm like working on my clients, I do things out of order. I feel like as makeup artists, we always do that. You step back, you look at something, you move on to the next thing, you go back. But there's no like right or wrong way. It doesn't matter like how you get from like A to B, as long as they look good. Okay. And then I have a little foundation here that I use on her. I'm going to put a little bit on the back of my hand. And I always go in with like a really flat brush if I need to, and just kind of even out the lip shape a little bit. I don't always do this. I didn't do it on Ashley, but sometimes I like to perfect.
While you're perfecting that, someone asked the shade of the lip liner. So the shade of the lip liner, it's the Powerline Plumping Lip Liner in shade Hush Hush Henna. And then Ash is going to go in with the Full Force Plumping Lipstick in shade Supermodel over top of it.
Yes, two of my favorite shades.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have like good neutrals in your makeup bag. Good neutrals are everything. So just perfecting this a little bit. And now we're ready for Supermodel.
Yeah, I love what you said. It's like your lip tone, but better, which is like, it's kind of like you said, that like no fail shade that's like perfect for anyone's kit.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something I've searched my whole career for. I'm like, I want those like your lip tone shades, but better always. Because it just makes you feel pretty. You know, it's like really ethereal. Yeah. It's neutral. It's a pop of like warmth. It's not like we're overdoing it. It's like just an effortless vibe.
Totally.
And these are all new products. So I'm using this directly on her lips. I only do this if I'm giving it to them. Or I would use a brush. But I love utilizing BUXOM's lipsticks directly on the lips because it has this really innovative edge to it. So it grips onto the lash. It kind of just, the lips, it hugs the lips really well. I'm obsessed.
So
and pretty. Now we'll do the beautiful lash mascara. Thank you. So I'm going to hold the lid again and then start from the base. And I'm kind of just going to coat top and bottom. And I am lifting this outward to go with the shape of the shadow and liner.
I love this look so much.
Thank you. It needs one more thing, I'm not gonna lie. I wanna add, and we need to add like a little inner corner highlight and be done with it. But I have to show you the shade Living. It's so beautiful. It makes the most perfect inner corner highlight. David, have you used it on the face yet?
I have. After we were at that shoot together, I was like, and we were talking about like, I'm obsessed with this palette. Like I contoured my face with it too. So I'm like, I hope it's reading. But
yes, yeah, you're like, I'm wearing Teddy right now.
Always.
Teddy on the cheeks.
That's like my go-to.
I love it.
Yes, right here.
So cool. I love to hear that.
I'm obsessed with this palette. I think you did such like I said, an ingenious job with the balance of the shades. You can literally do a full face with this entire palette, like from contouring to highlighting to eyes to lips to cheek too. Like this orchid shade on the like pressed onto the lip would be to die for. And I think like I said, like this palette too, it's kind of timeless in the sense that like you can take it from summer into fall into holiday. So it's something that's very relevant for any occasion. So
I love it. Yeah, it's like your year-round palette.
100%.
You can't go wrong with. So I'm just using for a little finishing touch, just taking the shade Living and popping that in the inner corner. And it just really adds this beautiful light. And so I also used it down the bridge of the nose, but you want to pat it out because it's really intense. And I always take another brush after I've done that, like a pencil shape, and I'll just kind of buff out the edges. So it's intense, but it's soft at the same time, like it's rich. Look up again.
I love how balanced this whole look is. I love it. It looks like the lips, the eyes, the cheek. It's like everything's living in like perfect harmony, which it really makes Megan just like pop. Like every feature is just like a standout. And I think she just looks absolutely beautiful.
I got powder everywhere. Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
decided not to do mascara on the lower lashes. I feel like for this look, it makes it more expensive to me. So
Hmm.
I wanted to keep it just on the top. It kind of just lifts the eyes up and it won't drag any of the weight down. So wanted to keep that balance like that. And
I love
I
it.
think we'll get both of you guys together so you guys can see the finished look. And my pony is going to
Yes.
stop knocking things off the table.
Long hair, don't care. Let's get the
Right?
girls in here. I love it. It's like
Yes.
I'm obsessed. Like I said, the two looks are just they're totally different, but they're all very again, like I love the diffusion look, and I think that's so signature to your style in the sense that like
Thank
everything looks
you.
so shapely and beautiful. I'm obsessed.
You guys are stunning.
Awesome. Oh
So
well,
we just
thank
want
you
to
so
give
much,
a
Ash.
closer look.
Yeah, let's take a look at these girls. Uh obsessed.
Serve.
So pretty. Oh my God.
Guys,
This is
screen
incredible.
grab these looks.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been so much fun that you've given us so many like tips and tricks during this session. Like I'm grateful. I feel like I like got really spoiled here with getting the front row seat.
Oh, thank you, David. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. This was so much
my,
fun. I'm so glad we got to share this moment together with all of you. Thank you guys so much for being here today. This was so special for me. This was literally the launch of the palette. This was our event. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. And please tag us if you recreate the looks or if you just post anything from today. We'd love to see it. So thank
yes.
you.
Of course. Thank you so much, Ash, for everything and everyone tuning in. Like Ash said, please use the hashtag BuxomBabe, tag at Buxom Cosmetics at Ash K Holm. And again, thank you so much, Ash, for everything. And this has been so much fun. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day and upcoming weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, guys.